In South Carolina, the National Hurricane Center issues various urgent hurricane and storm warnings. The severity of the storm is growing by the second, so residents in coastal towns are told to evacuate. In Annieville, Dakota tries to order takeout, but her favorite restaurant tells her they're closing because of the weather. Dakota suffers from agoraphobia, which means she's afraid of going outside. But since she desperately needs food, she forces herself to leave her dead mother's house anyway. As she walks down the street, she notices all her neighbors packing and leaving their houses. When a fire truck passes by with a loud siren, Dakota starts having an anxiety attack and decides to go back. She accidentally bumps into a neighbor, who informs her that they're supposed to evacuate and offers a spot in his car. The idea terrifies her, so she decides to go home. Across town, three siblings are having fun swimming in a swamp. Ron makes a big jump to dive in and doesn't resurface, so his siblings worry for a second. However, he's just pranking them and soon resurfaces. Their fun is interrupted by their foster father Billy, who scolds them for being out in the dangerous swamps. He points out how expensive medical bills are if they get hurt, but Dee doesn't think he'd ever take them to the doctor. This earns her more scolding, and Billy takes the siblings away in his truck. At the meat plant, pregnant worker Lisa rushes to her car and says goodbye to Bob, who needs to stay until he finishes his chores. While she drives, she gets a call from her mother, who is upset because Lisa moved from New York to Annieville for her fiancé, who abandoned her after she got pregnant. The mother also tells her that they've closed the highways, so she needs to get to higher ground quickly. At the port, marine biologist Dale tells his co-worker Brian that the marine life is already moving north to escape the storm. This includes the sharks, meaning they haven't managed to tag them all in time. Harbor Master Greg informs them that the hurricane has intensified into Category 6, so Dale calls his niece. Dakota is still sitting by the door when she gets the call and Dale offers to pick her up. However, Dakota refuses to leave, even when Dale describes all the terrible things that are about to happen. He tells her that he understands missing her mother because he misses her too, but staying in the house won't help with the pain. Dakota only laughs and teases him for being bad at parenting. Dale promises to pick her up and hangs up. Then Dakota tries to watch TV as a distraction, but all shows are interrupted by news reports about the storm. She decides to connect her phone to the TV to watch old family videos. In the truck, Billy keeps scolding the kids and even insults them to the point that he threatens to send them back to foster care. Ron notices people running away and wonders if they should leave too, but Billy claims it's just a bit of wind and rain and happily plays music. When they get home, Dee gets worried about the windows breaking, but Billy explains he installed reinforced glass. Then Billy looks for his wife Rachel in the basement and complains about what happened. Rachel asks him to calm down, reminding him that they're paid to take care of the kids. Dee interrupts them to say the siblings are hungry and notices steaks in the basement fridge. Billy tells her it's not her business and Rachel throws some bread at her before they remind her that the basement is off limits. At the port, Dale is approached by reporter Joe, who wants his opinion on the shark attack that happened in the morning. Dale didn't hear anything, so Joe explained that a couple at the beach was attacked by a great white shark. Some witnesses even claim they saw it too. Dale points out that great whites don't hunt in packs, so it sounds like they were bull sharks. Joe takes the mic from him and starts talking about bull sharks with fake facts to create a clickbait story, so Dale tries to correct him. Since Joe ignores him, Dale leaves. Meanwhile, Lisa is trying to get help from shops, but there's nobody around. Her mother calls again to check on her, but the connection is quickly lost. When she feels pain in her stomach, she blames it on nerves and plays some music to relax. As the wind starts to destroy buildings, the power goes out. The waves grow big and violent, pushing the levees around the beach until they break. This allows water to quickly start flooding the town. Lisa drives as fast as possible and almost crashes into a truck, but stops just in time. The driver is Bob, who tells her to turn back because trees have fallen and blocked the road. However, water is coming from the other side, so Lisa drives ahead anyway only to get the car stuck in the tree. Bob keeps driving in the other direction and tries to turn at the corner, but unfortunately the water hits his truck and drags it down the street, causing it to damage like posts and buildings. Lisa notices the truck is being pushed toward her, but she still can't move her car, so the wave ends up doing it for her. As all the streets get flooded, the current moves Lisa's car until it crashes into a tree and a branch goes through the windows. The water is filling the vehicle, but Lisa can't leave because she's stuck. Bob's truck is also moved by the current and crashes into a statue that damages the tank, causing it to spill all the chum in the water. This soon reaches the sea and gets the attention of the sharks. The siblings see the water flooding their yard and even Rachel tries to warn her husband, but he doesn't care. Suddenly a wave breaks their window, bringing Billy down. Rachel wants to leave but Billy doesn't know how, so Ron reminds them that the car has a snorkel. At home, Dakota sees the waves coming and moves away from the windows right before the water bursts into her house. On the upper floor, she looks out and sees Lisa in the car. Nearby, two men on a boat hear Lisa yelling for help, so Scott jumps into the water and starts swimming toward the vehicle. He climbs on top of the hood and tries to move the branch, but the wind pushes him into the water again. Scott then asks Jimmy to get the cutters from their truck. While Jimmy swims to their vehicle, Scott chats with Lisa to keep her calm. Jimmy gets the cutters and jumps back into the flood, only to mysteriously be dragged underwater. When Scott turns around, he doesn't see his friend anywhere, so he goes looking for him. Suddenly, Jimmy resurfaces screaming because he's missing an R. Then a force pulls him away and Scott tries to swim toward it. At that moment, Dakota sees a fin in the water, so she opens the window to start screaming shark. Scott can't hear her, but Lisa does, so she yells as well. Bob hears all the noise, so he starts kicking the truck door to go out and help. Unfortunately, as soon as he comes out, the shark catches him with its huge mouth. He tries to fight back, but he's soon dragged underwater too. Scott finally sees the beast and tries to swim away, but the shark catches him too and smashes him on Misa's car several times before dragging him underwater. Meanwhile, Dale and Brian watch the news on their boat. They learn that the Coast Guard has banned watercraft from leaving the port for the next 12 hours because of the intense winds and dangerous currents. They also hear that Annieville is flooded and there have been several casualties, so Dale worries about Dakota. He checks the tracking system on their computer and realizes that the town is flooded because the levees broke. Minutes later, Dale and Brian are in a car with Joe and his cameraman. They've made a deal. If Joe drives them and their boat to Annieville, they'll allow them to record everything. At Billy's house, he and Rachel are walking in the water to reach the garage. The kids are watching them through the window and get startled when they see a shark. When Billy finally reaches the car, a shark jumps out to bite his arm and drag him down. After eating his hand, the shark bumps into Rachel and proceeds to devour her. At the window, the kids watch in horror and beg for help. Billy stares at them for a second before deciding to abandon them and run back to his truck. When he's about to get in, the shark catches him again. Suddenly, the kids are startled by Rachel appearing at the window, only for the shark to drag her away. In the car, Lisa is about to drown. Dakota tries to call 911, but nobody answers. Lisa begs for her help, but Dakota points out that she can't come closer because of the sharks. When Lisa explains she's pregnant, Dakota has an anxiety attack, but she manages to put herself together and agrees to help. She goes downstairs and walks on the furniture to reach the kitchen, where she gets a knife. Dakota then leaves the house through the window, only to slip and fall in the water. Luckily, she manages to hold onto a car and climb on it. While keeping an eye on the sharks, Dakota moves from structure to structure until she reaches Lisa's car. Using the knife, she cuts the roof of the car and all the branches. Next, she helps Lisa climb out through the hole. Together, they manage to get back into the house. Afterward, Dakota gives Lisa a towel and explains she's alone because both her parents are dead. Lisa thinks they should go to the roof and put up a signal for rescuers, but she's interrupted when she starts feeling contractions. Dakota takes off the curtains and quickly goes to the roof to write help with the fabrics. Once she returns to the bedroom, Lisa asks her to look at her opening so they can estimate when the baby will come. Dakota takes a look and reveals that the baby's head is about 2 or 3 inches out already, so Lisa concludes the baby is coming soon. Meanwhile, Brian is keeping an eye on his marine system and discovers that Nellie is near Dakota's house. Joe is confused by this, so Dale explains that Nellie is a pregnant great white shark that they've been tracking for 3 years. Suddenly, the car stops because the road is so flooded that it can't advance anymore. They leave the car to get the boat ready and Brian discovers the internet is down, so he's lost access to the tracking system. They'll have to move without a map. As they take off, Dale calls Greg and confirms they're moving in the right direction, although Greg also tells him to get out of there quickly. While they sail, they see the floating bodies of the animals that the sharks devoured. At home, the 3 siblings are staying on a table to avoid the water that has flooded the house. They realize there's an open door and are afraid the sharks may come in, so Dee starts moving on the furniture to reach it. When she's about to close it, a shark comes in and pushes it open again. Dee barely manages to hold on and she won't last long. Ron waits until the shark swims into another room to walk on the furniture too. He moves carefully but reaches his sister just in time to save her from falling. Once they're back on the table, Ron says they should go to the roof. His siblings don't want to move, but Ron points out that the water is still rising and they're surrounded by 2 sharks. First, they need a distraction, and Dee remembers that there's need in the basement. Will mentions that they're not supposed to go there, but Ron reminds him that the couple is dead. The 3 kids laugh and start insulting Billy for how he treated them, only for him to suddenly jump out of the water and land on the table. Billy asks about Rachel, so Ron tells him that she died and calls him out for abandoning them. When Billy